Hey guys, welcome back to the Nets, the home of unbiased views. This is a channel where we talk about Arsenal football. With a similar handle, we have started a podcast which is meant specifically for cricket, but that's how we are separating it. Nonetheless, if you have seen us, if you like the content, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have any feedback for us, let us know. If you like it, please do give us a shout out. Reach out to the other folks. And with me is Elroy. Hey, Elroy, welcome back.
Okay, you're 5 days away from the start of the season.
5 days away from the season, and we don't really seem to have picked up from where we left last time. Or
Yeah,
rather, we have picked up from where we left and we haven't taken a step forward.
yeah.
How do you see this? Is this a season that looks promising to you?
At the end of last season and when the season just got over, there were a lot of talks that they always tend to give us about how this would be like a squad overhaul, and everybody knows that this squad does need an overhaul. There's no irrespective of what your opinions are about Mikel Arteta or Edu. Whether you think that they are the right people or no, but everybody will agree that this squad needs to be overhauled. It needs massive changes. And for the fact that till now we have just let go of, I mean, not let go, we've only like Guendouzi has gone out on loan, Saliba and Mavropanos are out on loan, and okay, now we have struck a deal for Joe Willock. It's really really poor right now. And as you said, it's we've left from last season. In fact, you can say we are marginally strong, marginally better, or you could say we are practically the same. Who are the players who have come in? Nuno Tavares as left back, backup left back. He does give us something different as a left back. Sometimes he would be played as a left winger. That's what I feel will happen as well. But he's not a starter. We've got Lokonga, who's, yes, frankly speaking, he's been a bright spot, and but he's someone who's directly replacing someone like say Ceballos, and hopefully he does something better than him overall. And then you have Ben White, who, let's face it, he will. I think Ben White will is a good signing, and he will turn out to be a really good player. But he's just replacing David Luiz, so it's like almost like a like for like. Hopefully, he doesn't have the mistakes that David Luiz has, but he does have the passing abilities and playing out from the back and being good on the ball. So I would say that as of now, that is like a practically like a like for like substitute replacement. On top of that, to add to it, we have lost out on Odegaard. We had Odegaard in for 6 months, and we don't have him anymore. So yes, if not, we are practically the same. Not, I would say, marginally better, maybe, but even marginally better would just be saying that in an optimistic way, considering that they are new players. We are practically the same squad and going into a season where I agree that the market is tough, but it's not a good sign, not a good way to. It's not something I would be optimistic about, at least.
So we say market is tough, but we see people like Aston Villa, we see people like West Ham, and now even Tottenham who are actively buying people. They are identifying their targets, and let's not identify. I mean, go to each one of them statistically as such. But the fact is, they are identifying their targets. They are putting the money down, and they are bringing them in. With us, whenever that happens, we always say that, oh yeah, the market is tough. Now, if we look at all the buys that we have done so far under Arteta and Edu, this administration, we had Mari, who was initially tried out
City.
in Man City, was a reject. Man City didn't take him; he went away. Arteta was a part of Man City back then, and now he brings in Mari. Then there is Edu, who has a connection with William. They are both
Yeah.
Brazilian. Then there is another one that we had got who again had some ties with the agent was the same for Edu
Yeah,
and
Cedric.
so
Cedric
if
had
you look at
that.
it, it's more about the management trying to make sure that they are filling their pockets rather than giving the fans what they want.
Yeah. So
Football at Arsenal is more centralized that way.
it's see, the thing is, uh, Arsenal has been mismanaged over the last couple of years. The off-field changes have not helped us at all. It's quite a mess that we are in. Everybody wants a period of stability, and that is one of the reasons why I said that this would be a very defining window, not just for Arteta, but mainly for Edu. But I see again. They say that you know they've said that this is not going to be an easy window. I mean, they wanted an overhaul, and I agree. See, you said that certain clubs have made certain moves, and I totally get it. But overall, for us the problem is that we cannot, you know, we need to get rid of players first. Till we get rid of players, we have with the squad situation, because the last thing you want is we buying up players are not a problem for us. If as per what it looks like, paying certain amount for certain players is not going to be an issue for us. For us, the thing is that we need those squad the players to be fit into the squad. Else we are going to end up with a situation like last year, wherein you get in players and then you're forced to drop out certain players because you have a bloated squad. And this season we cannot afford to go with a bloated squad, because we don't even have Europa League or any European competition where they're going to get some extra time ahead. I mean, extra games where people can get game time. So not an ideal situation. And I still believe that what there are around 21 days, 21, 22 days left for the transfer window to end. I do believe we will make deals, and in fact the optimist in me, if in that sense, will say that yes, we will get a couple, at least one good player for sure. But my problem right now is that we are not selling anyone. The market is tough, but we need to somehow get rid of players, because we still have players like Ronaldo, Kolasinac, uh, you know, Niles and Nelson. Okay, I wouldn't mind if they stay, but then they're still in the squad. We have Willian, you have El Neni, you have so many players who are still in the squad, and Bellerin, another player that everybody knows who wants out. We have so many of these players who we need to get rid of them, but they're still here, and that frightens me more than the fact that who we are going to get, because getting is not going to be a problem for us. It's getting rid of the players is that's the major concern.
So getting rid of the players now, when we see that some of our players who actually have shown and who have shown talent as well, for instance, Joe Willock, you have somebody coming in for Joe Willock
Yeah,
because the talent is right there to see. Except for maybe Arteta and Edu, everybody sees that. But then there are these other mediocrities that we are maintaining, and I keep insisting that it's not the management to a certain extent that is the problem. It's the fans who have glorified this mediocre talent.
true,
Again, I
that
go
is
back to
definitely.
Xhaka. Xhaka, for all the world class Swiss captain that he had one buyer, Jose
Yeah,
Mourinho, and he did not rate Xhaka more than 13 million. That just
yeah,
shows how amazing of a talent Xhaka is. We have Torreira, who some people say is not even back from his vacation yet. So I don't know. We talk about Harry Kane not being in, and we make fun of that because that is not being managed.
yeah,
What about Torreira? Torreira is not even
yeah,
coming in, and no one talks about him because he's that. As per the media, he's that ridiculous that no one even needs bothers to
yeah.
talk about him. Then there is Bellerin, a star who is supposedly in his prime at 27, been with the club, EPL experience for 10 years, not a single PL club even wanting to be part of, wanting him. There are talks now that there may be a Kyrian Trippier and Bellerin swap wherever that is. But Bellerin wants out. Everybody knows it.
Yeah,
The whole media knows it, but no one comes for him.
yeah,
So as scouts, we have sucked. We brought in player and we glorified people, glorified them.
true.
Sadly for us, these players somehow manage to score in their first game and then they just disappear. And we are stuck with them for the rest of our lives.
Yeah,
William, the first game he played, he had 3 assists. And
yes,
now we are happy if William makes a forward pass and he makes a
yeah,
critical pass. We are happy that okay, we got our money's worth. Nobody from Chelsea was sad that William was sold to an immediate rival.
exactly.
At this
Yeah,
point, we are not even rivals for Chelsea. Let's just
true.
admit it. Chelsea is not even our rival. We are
Yeah.
rivals. We are having a banter with Aston Villa and West Ham at this time.
Don't even get me started on that. Yeah,
So, as a club, we are supposed to be a big club, but we act like mediocre club and rightly are placed. The table doesn't lie. When we are
true.
placed at eighth or ninth, that's because we deserved eighth or ninth. Yes, we showed
Exactly.
us power, but the again, we always go back and try to do a postmortem rather than be a proactive person who goes into the
Yeah,
market. And again, we are happy we got two young talents, Nuno Tavares, who I feel that may not be a starter right away, but I think eventually he will be playing at least 25 to 35% of the games considering Kieran Tierney's fitness. And
yeah,
Tavares and Lokonga and Ben White may eventually turn out to be regulars in the game as the season progresses. At what point of time do we start panicking about Aubameyang and his form?
oh, I think to be honest, I was one of those guys who thought that maybe, yeah, Aubameyang is getting his chances. But over the last two games, after Chelsea and against Tottenham, you look at his body language, you look at him overall, there are signs which I think majority of us will start to panic right now. And that is one. I don't know if we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, but we have been linked with two strikers as of now, Tammy Abraham and Lautaro Martinez. Many people say that do we really need a striker? And I would say yes, we do, because you have one 32, 33-year-old striker who's into his second year of his contract, and then next year will be his last year. And we have another 30-year-old striker who's into his last year of the contract. Followed by that, we have the likes of Balogun and Martinelli. Much that people say Martinelli should be a center forward, Martinelli for me is not ready as a center forward yet. Balogun, yes, maybe, but it's a lot to put on the shoulders of these two kids, to take to like yes, I know it sounds stupid when I'm saying this, whereas at the same time we are number 7 and number 10 is our teenagers, like in the likes of Saka and Emil Smith Rowe. But Martinelli and Balogun, maybe they could be like Smith Rowe and Saka and take up the mantle and start to score. But it is a lot to expect from them. And strikers are such it's quite an unforgiving position. You are scrutinized based on your goals at the end of the day as a striker. So it's Aubameyang's form right now is something of a big question. Like what does Arteta do also? Like does he has to make a big call? Either, like, obviously we cannot sell Aubameyang, that is there, because nobody's going to buy him in the first place because his wages are going to be quite enormous. And he at the end of the day is the club captain, even if he sometimes might not show that, he might not seem that way, but then again we don't know what happens behind the dressing room. And then you have Lacazette, who's on 1 year. We are trying to get rid of him, but there are no suitors for him apparently. So it's a big job. Need to make some very firm decisions now. This is the time where you either you decide to sell Lacazette if needed, but some major calls have to be taken because our striking, see, our team lacks goals. Last season, we were the third best defensive team, but we lacked goals. And where are our goals coming from so far? None of them are going to be adding to goal. I mean, the maximum maybe like 4 goals would come up from maybe these 3, 4 guys, 4 to 5 scoring goals right now. So where are the goals coming from? And for me, Auba's lack of
So we experienced some technical glitch there,
oh,
Edward. But
okay, sorry.
I do agree with you that Aubameyang's form definitely a concern. Now, if you look at the last few games or last whole season, if you have seen, 90% of the time during a game, Aubameyang is backtracking and Aubameyang is in
Yeah,
our half rather than the opposition half. Once the other team has scored and Arsenal feels like, okay, now is the time for us to attack, that's when we see Aubameyang in the back, and he's never going to be that striker who is going to give you goals when there are 11 bodies in the other half.
yeah.
He's not that kind of a striker. We knew that. He gets that one chance and he shoots, and that tends to be on target. Do you think, to a certain extent, Arteta's tactics of using him have also been a cause of where his form has suddenly seen this dip?
I You can say that, but at the same time, I would also say that last season there was sufficient evidence of playing Oba in the center, and when Oba was in the center, he has not, set the world alight even at that point of time. So everybody tends to give Oba a free pass, and I agree because he did have a tough season. He had like an injury, then he had some personal problems where his mother was not well, is what he suffered from malaria, and never got this continuous runs. And but at the end of the day, till last season, people can still make excuses for that. I mean, we would like to, but that thing has continued even this season, and that is what is starting to alarm people. And his body language doesn't give the vibe that you would need. Now, coming back to the point, yes, even I would still prefer Oba to be in the middle, because you keep feeding him the chances and he will score. That is the kind of player Oba is. But maybe sometimes there is a reasoning that Oba on the left, maybe he gets to do a bit more, like, to cut in and score. But Oba tracking back right into defense and coming up, that is for me, he still has the speed. He still is a fast striker, but how long are we going to utilize a 32-year-old striker to run up and down the left flank? That for me is something which needs to be rectified. And that is why I said some big calls need to be taken. Because if we go into the season the same way that we played against Tottenham or we played against Chelsea, forget the upcoming matches against City, Chelsea, and we are going to struggle against Brentford itself at this rate.
And I still, I mean, I'm a little optimistic about Oba. I have a feeling that he will come good this season. It all depends on who we buy and who's going to feed him. So let's talk about that one position which is still for grabs. Not
Yeah.
this week, but the past week. Madison was not much spoken. Before that, the week, week and a half back,
Yeah.
it was, we had gone to that extent that Madison has his medical in the next 2 days. Those were the words that were spoken. Then it started winding down with, oh, Madison, we are talking about
Yeah.
replacing him with AMN, Maitland-Niles, and 50 million will be good for Madison. And now, as days have progressed, no one talks about Madison. Madison was shown holding the community shield, and that pretty much tells me that okay, we are going to either go for our or we are going to go for Bruno, or we are going to say that no, our new 10 is Emil Smith Rowe, and we completely show faith in him. What do you see about that? Elroy, are you still there with us?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So how do you see this? Where do you see who's
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
be
I'm still
the
here. Yeah.
I think
So
Elroy, we are
currently, it
losing.
seems like
Elroy, I think we lost you there for a little bit. Could you please try to repeat the last part? I think we may have lost Elroy. Uh, yeah, we have definitely lost Elroy. Oh, there he is back again.
hey,
So
yeah.
Elroy,
Yeah.
yeah, coming back to that question
Sorry.
where,
So I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
I know. I got your question. So the interest in Madison is definitely there. I mean, there is, like, with the recent reports, you can see that the interest is there. Today, for instance, AFC Bell, who everyone knows who AFC Bell is, AFC Bell gave, and he had a lot to say about him. Uh, just a second, Kale. Just give me 1 minute. Just hold on. Just give me a minute.
no problem. So while we do that, there's also an active interest that is being popping
Okay.
up from Arsenal's corner about Ramsdale, which there are some divided opinion there about should we go for Ramsdale or should we just wait out and see if we get Onana for free. But yes, you were saying something about Madison.
Madison
Elroy?
interest is
Yeah.
definitely there. Yes, yeah. So Madison interest is definitely legit. I mean, Arsenal, it's all about the money right now. One thing maybe was Arsenal were definitely looking to offload certain players, and with Joe Willock leaving, we obviously have that slot open because Joe Willock, if he had played, he wouldn't be playing in a double pivot. He would have been playing as a number 10, which Joe Willock wouldn't be a typical Arsenal number 10. So, that is one thing. So yes, someone like Madison would. I mean, Arsenal. See, the thing based on the rumor right now, if we look at it, if we can read between the lines or even read the articles, which almost straightforward say it, Madison wants to join Arsenal. Arsenal have an interest in him. Leicester are not going to like fight, fight their best to keep Madison. It's like they are okay with letting go of Madison, but they will want a certain price, which is pretty obvious. And Leicester are not a team that's going to negotiate for a lesser price. They get what they want in terms of their price. So the equation such is that if Arsenal pay what Leicester want, we get Madison. It's as simple as that. It's just as simple as that in terms of getting him. But now you get the question of, is Arsenal going to spend 60 million on one player, on a player like Madison? That remains to be the biggest question in my opinion, because AFC Bell again, he tweeted this saying that there could be a hesitancy from Arsenal because paying 60 million on one player when you could maybe divide your resources better and like buy some address certain other areas of the pitch as well. So that for me is a very valid point. Now they keep saying the one thing, but amongst all of this, I don't understand though, is everybody says that the backup option is Martin Odegaard. For me, that is a bit of a weird one because Madison is a player who has a lot of output, who's more direct, I guess, and he'll have a lot of goals and assists. Well, Odegaard is this very silky technical player who's going to put in these good passes, and you know, I don't see him scoring a lot of goals. He might get it. He will end up getting a better assists, more assists than last season if he is with us. But I don't see him getting in a lot of goals at this point of time. For me, they are quite different players. They're just attacking players, and they're two different profiles. So we seem to be linked with players from two different profiles, which makes me kind of like I don't understand that. But we need an attacking player for sure. We need someone with output. We need someone who's going to give us assists, but more than assists, we need someone who's going to contribute a good amount of goals. That person is Madison, but again, 60 million on Madison. If it happens, I think all of us will still be celebrating. But there was one point raised by Askblog in the Askcast. At the end of the day, if it is 60 million to Madison, seems all good. But remember one thing: you are giving 60 million to Leicester, and at this point of time, Leicester are our competition. You see, you give 60 million to Leicester and you are strengthening your direct rivals. It's not like we are giving 60 million to United, Chelsea, or City, who are like, way above the us in terms of quality. And 60 million would not make, I mean, obviously it would, 60 million is a huge amount, but it would not make a competitive sense between us and them right now. They have the amount of money. Leicester, you give them 60 million, and they've already built a new training. You're giving Leicester 60 million, and there could be a chance that you are helping them increase the gap between the two clubs. So that is always
Absolutely.
a way to look at it.
So before we wind up, there was one interesting word that you used about Joe Willock and Emil Smith Rowe. He's not a conventional, traditional number 10 for Arsenal.
Yes.
And I would like to point out that does it mean that Arteta is rigid who cannot really use Willock with the strength that Willock has? That, Willock clearly has all the technical abilities. Without that, you do not get 7 goals in 7 games. So I feel that Arteta, to a certain extent, is so rigid with his game making and style of play that he cannot accommodate somebody as quality as Willock in the center if it comes to just adding a different dimension to the game. Would you agree with that?
See, that for me though, I would disagree with that because people, okay, I mean, I know that Joe Willock has played really well at Newcastle, but people tend to forget that Joe Willock in the 2019-2020 season, Joe Willock was the outfield player who made the most number of appearances, maybe from the bench or he was starting. Both Emery as well as Arteta use Joe Willock quite a lot. So it's not like they have been against using Joe Willock or they have tried to use Joe. The thing is that all comes down to this: is Joe Willock a player where you build your system around? Because if you are going to change your entire system based on Joe Willock, are you going to change your system? And Joe Willock is a player who thrive. Who One of the reasons he really did well at Newcastle was because of the style of play. Hitting the opposition on the counter, where he's really good at carrying the ball forward and running with it and making those late runs. Now, making those late runs is something we could have really used. We really need that. But apart from that, he is a good player, no doubt about it. How much he would have suited our style? And at the end of the day, for me, this is what it comes down to. Arsenal would have loved to sell 5 or 6 players before Joe Willock. But the sad reality is that nobody is coming for those 5 or 6 players. So we had to take what we got and people are complaining about the price, and fair enough. But 25 million in a COVID market, again, people will say straight away, how did Ryan Brewster go for 25 million and Joe Willock? We finished eighth. Our players don't have a value as such where we can command 30 million fee. When we want 30 million player, we are the same fans who will criticize each and every player, call them all sorts of words. But when it comes to selling them, we expect them to go for world record fees. It doesn't work that way. If you're finished eighth and you have poor players, you're not going to get good amount of money for them. As simple as
Absolutely
that.
agree. And I stay firm when I said I would give out Xhaka and I would give out Willian for a bag of donuts, and I will give you the donuts for taking them from me. It is so that was the quality of these two players. And Xhaka maybe a little bit more. But if you're getting 13 mil for Xhaka, just get rid of him. We can do better than what we currently have, especially with Xhaka and Partey. And now the worrying sign for me is the backup for Partey is going to be El Neni for
Oh
some
yes,
amount of time with Partey's
that is
fitness.
definitely a
We do not have a
yeah.
backup for him, considering okay, Torreira is still out there. He comes back, he takes 2 or 3 weeks to actually find his form, find his feet, moving again, lose some holiday weight, and then he comes and joins the team. He's a better player than Elneny, no questions there. But his
Yeah.
heart is not in there. And just maybe that if you actually start giving him more runs and you might actually see him being a good player and he might again, gel back with the system. We may not
Yeah.
need to invest. But who's going to make that call? We don't have a
Ex-
active leader on field. We don't seem to have an active leader in the back management as well who's going to make those calls.
So it's as we said, it's a messed up situation. There's a lot of things are going to happen over the next 3 weeks or so, 2 3 weeks, because things have to happen. If they don't happen, means it's going to be a riot. But yeah, let's see how this goes. We need to get the players out first, and getting players in should not be an issue, I feel. But getting the players out is a must, and that is what our club management has to be working day in and day out on that.
All right. Well, thank you, Roy. On that note, let's wrap up for this week. So guys, if you have come this far, please do hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let us know how we are doing. If you like us, please do give us a shout out. Let your friends know, and we will be glad to again work on whatever content or whatever expectations you have. Our Twitter handles are right there at the bottom of your screen. We both are active, extremely active on Twitter. So on that note, wherever you guys are, stay healthy, stay safe. And Elroy, we will talk to you before the game this weekend, Friday. Fingers crossed.
Sure, yes. Yeah, yeah. Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys, and talk to you guys soon. Thank you, Elroy.
Thanks, Gabe. Yeah.